when you play a team like Georgia, you get exposed, and that's what happened.
Clemson is very interesting because it's a program that was at the pinnacle of college football from the years of 2015 to 2018, competing for championships and dominating the competition, winning the Natty in 2016 and 2018. Many thought they would continue that level of success with head coach Dabo Swinny for many years to come. A program which featured guys like Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Trevor Lawrence, and others, but with the way college football has changed over the years, it seemed the game has passed Dabo Swinny by. If you know, you know. The game is not the same. This lack of success from the program has caused NFL stars to chime in. After their loss against Georgia, DeAndre Hopkins tweeted this out. Clemson has all these playmakers, but only 3 points. Something has to change. And I agree. If you lose to Georgia 14-28 or 21-36, those are bad losses, but saying that Georgia is 2 touchdowns better than Clemson is not crazy. And the defense played pretty good. Good enough that maybe if the offense would have showed up, you could have kept it even closer. But to score just 3 points is crazy. And it being against Georgia is very ironic, but I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. Rodney White tweeted something out as well that caught my attention. Clemson got way too many white dudes on the field on offense. This ain't them. You mean to tell me you only got one black dude out there making plays? That's a recruiting problem. Now, I never thought about it like that. Let me guys know what you think about that. Tweet down in the comment section below. However, it's not like those guys out there are scrubs. Clemson does a good enough job in the high school realm of recruiting. I don't think that's necessarily the issue here. The problem is the transfer portal is not used at all to fill in the gaps that they need in order to make the team complete. Because in this day and age, you need both high school kids and transfer portal kids, because we saw with Ole Miss last year in the loss that they had to Georgia. The transfer portal does not fix everything, but at the same time, it will get you a little bit closer to where you want to be. And the more that I think about that Rodney White tweet, I'm pretty sure Georgia had at least one white guy on the field who scored a touchdown, and it might be 2. So I don't think that's necessarily the issue. But looking at one more tweet here by a guy named Matt Hilton, it says, Dabo deserves most of the heat he gets for refusing to engage in the portal. But it's not like Clemson doesn't have dudes. 5th in 24/7's team talent composite, 5-star QB in his second year, blue chips all over the field, can't be a developmental program that fails to develop. And I believe that's what DeAndre Hopkins is trying to express in his tweet that I showed you guys earlier. Because college football is more than just X's and O's. You have to recruit at the high school level to remain relevant at big programs, but what you do with the guys that you have is just as important. Because if you look at this current iteration of Clemson, they have a defense that is on the brink of being great if it all plays out correctly. However, their offense is very stale. The QB play is okay at best. And if we rewind a little bit into the DJU days, he was the scapegoat at this time. Not saying he was going to be a great quarterback or anything like that. But what I am saying is, if you look at DJU's recruitment and the current QB and Cade Klubnik's recruitment, they both were top tier QBs in their class, and Clemson either missed on both of them or they have done a really bad job at developing these guys. So now neither guy looks as good as they were previously advertised out of high school. These guys are supposed to be better. Now look, I'm not saying that every 5-star is going to turn into a superstar, but what I am saying is you can see within the game and the way that the calls are made that the offense lacks creativity to put your guys in the best position to succeed. And on top of that, they fail to fill in the holes at the positions that they need. They have not started a transfer player since 2018, and this all falls on Dabo's inability to adapt. And each and every year, it looks like he is out there trying to prove that the way that he does things is the best way to get business done, which is simply is not working. And if you know the definition of insanity, I think he just might be insane. And I know you may not like the transfer portal and how things are going. You may not like NIL. Saban is a perfect example of this. But even though he didn't like it, he adapted to it and used the portal. Kirby Smart is a coach who was around in that time where NIL was not necessarily a thing. He adapted to it. The great coaches do. Will Clemson still win 8 or 9 games this year? It's possible and likely. Last year they went 9-4, a good record by many program standards, but not for Clemson, because before Georgia took off, Clemson was supposed to be that. And in this game, you can see the difference between a good program and a great one. We're going to talk about this game just a little bit, but before we get into that, make sure that you guys like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about this game. So coming into this game, many people had Georgia winning it, of course. But what is more concerning than anything for Clemson is the fact that you could not score a touchdown. In the first half, it looked very good, the score being 6-0, but that's a defensive slugfest. Neither offense could establish much, but that all changed in the second half. Georgia scored on their opening possession. Clemson would drive down the field and do the same. Even though it wasn't 6, it was 3 points. I thought we had a good ball game on our hands until Georgia scored again and again and again. The Clemson defense was tired after having to run back and forth all over the field. Clemson could not sustain a drive, and it showed up with them only having 118 total yards of offense in this game. And I feel bad for those guys because you held it down over and over again. And if you played any level of football, Pee-wee, JV, high school, college, NFL, whatever, having to run out of there on the field after playing great defense and your offense is slacking, it takes a toll on you at some point. But that also goes to show you how great this Georgia team is. They have 447 yards of total offense. Carson Beck had 278 yards and 2 touchdowns. The freshman Nate Frazier had 83 yards on an average of 7.5 yards per carry. Georgia looked reloaded and ready to compete for a national championship. On the flip side, Clemson's Cade Klubnik had 142 yards passing with 1 interception. On top of that, he did miss some key plays in his game that he could have made. Now, like I said earlier, the offensive play calling is not that good, but at the same time, he did miss a couple guys. And when you're playing a team like Georgia, you cannot do that. That interception was a bad throw and a bad decision into double coverage. So it looks like it's going to be another year of just okay QB play. But they are in the ACC. And with the introduction of the 12-team playoffs, oddly enough, they're still alive. But as of right now, Miami seems to be the team to beat in the ACC, with Cam Ward going off against Florida. Georgia Tech is another team that is playing good as well. Let me know who you guys think is going to win the ACC. But with all of that, I want to be clear. I believe that Dabo is a good coach, but his model for success in the upper tier of college football is outdated. And if he would just get off of his high horse, he could bring Clemson back to where they were in 2016. He still recruits at the high school level just as good as he did back then. At least top 15 in the country with some top 5 cases in the mix as well. But without hitting the portal, he cannot and will not find those 1 or 2 players to fill the roles that just aren't working, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Along with that, the second-year offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley, is not looking too good right now. And with a combination of mediocre QB play and play calling, Clemson will only compete for the ACC and not the national championship, as many Clemson faithful would hope for. Can they turn it around? Sure. But other than another year in this offensive system, what has really changed? It's basically the same issues from that 9-4 team last year. A year they also went 4-4 in conference play. But on the bright side, looking at their schedule though, can they run the table? Sure. Their schedule isn't as tough as others. There is no Miami on here. There's no Georgia Tech here. So once they get into ACC play, it may look like a completely different team. The fact of the matter is Georgia is just too good. The Clemson defense is good and can be great if the offense can find a way to sustain drives. Clemson will not play anyone close to Georgia's level the rest of the way, but Dabo is on the hot seat because of this reason. Clemson is a program that has the resources to go out and get anyone in the country and should be able to get anyone in the country. But we also have to recognize that he has a $60 million buyout if they were to get rid of him. But just like Texas A&M showed you with Jimbo Fisher, it might not matter. But if I was a Clemson fan, I would be upset because the program should be in that top tier echelon with the Alabamas of the world, with the Georgias of the world, the Ohio States of the world. They should be up there. Clemson should be running the ACC without question. It should not be a year we're questioning whether Clemson will win the ACC. As of right now, that's a huge question. And if you made it this far in the video,